How are you doing today? My name's Jason Gaston, and I'm going to be doing a Card Wars Heroes tier list. Alright, so I think we should start off pretty basic here. We're just going to start off with Jake. Jake is the first hero that you do unlock in the game, the first player that you play in the game, and of course, every 2 turns, all your corn creatures gain +5 attack. Now, pretty basic ability. If you're a corn guy, this might be your base hero. For me personally, I like to mix it up. I like to use a couple different landscapes in my decks. So he's an alright hero. There's nothing wrong with him. I think Corn is top 2 landscape in the game. So I'm not going to be harsh on Jake. Just a normal C rating. Moving on, I think we should do Finn. Now, obviously Finn, second hero you unlock in the game. Every 5 turns, gain 2 extra magic points for 1 turn. Now, that is a long time for only 2 extra magic points. At 5 turns, you're already going to have 6 mana. So how much is that really helping you? Not a lot. I would not spend the time trying to level him up. And personally, I don't think every 5 turns, 2 extra magic points is that useful. So I'm going to drop him. E tier is fair. Now, obviously, I don't know. There's nothing you can really say. I don't think it's a super useful ability. Because whenever you're that deep into a game, you don't really need only 2 extra magic points. Moving on, BMO, obviously, next guy you unlock. Every 2 turns, gain 3 extra magic points for 1 turn. That is a very useful ability. Way more useful than Finn's sorry 2 points every 5 turns. Now, every 2 turns, 3 extra magic points. So actually, for BMO, I'm going to give BMO an A tier. For being the 3rd hero that you can unlock in the game, that's a pretty good ability. So yeah, I think A tier for BMO is definitely pretty solid. Moving on, Princess Bubblegum. Every 2 turns, fully heal all of your creatures. That is actually pretty useful. Maybe not as useful as BMO's, but every 2 turns, fully healing all of your creatures. You get her leveled up deep on into the game whenever you're dealing with a lot of health. Every 2 turns, fully healing all of your creatures. Pretty helpful, especially if you have high defense creatures. It'll be hard to kill off your creatures. I think it is an A tier. I don't think it's better than BMO's, but I would say it is another pretty useful one. A tier, don't think it's better than BMO's. Moving on, Marceline. Every 2 turns, all of your creatures gain +2 attack. I think it's better than this because it gets all of your creatures. So yeah, I'd say it's C tier, but it's definitely better than Jake's. Now we got Rainicorn. Every 3 turns, fully heal all of your creatures. Obviously, Bubblegum is 2 turns. You unlock Lady Rainicorn after Bubblegum. So for that reason, it's going in B tier. Moving on, we have Flame Princess. Every 2 turns, all of your sand creatures gain +5 attack. Now, me personally, I would find myself using Flame Princess more than Jake for the fact that I think sand creatures in this game are better. So I would say that she is definitely better than Jake, but I would say Marceline probably has more of a use case still. Alright, now we have Dr. Dona. Every 5 turns, return any creature from the discard pile back to your hand. Another pretty useful one. Use case, 5 turns. You know, me personally, I don't find myself 5 turns deep into a game where I need a creature back most of the time. So for that, I'm gonna say it's in B tier, but is it better than fully healing your creatures back every 3 turns? Probably not. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it behind Rainicorn, but still it can be a useful one. Alright, now we have Ricardio. Every 3 turns, draw 1 card. Now drawing 1 card, how useful really is that? And waiting 3 turns? Me personally, I don't find this to be a super useful one. Still, not a really great hero card, not a great floop ability, and for that reason, it's gonna be in D tier. I don't see myself needing to draw 1 single card that much, and I think there's just better heroes out there. Moving on, we have Ash. Ash is my favorite hero in the game. This is not his real floop ability. His real floop ability, every 2 turns, bring any card back from the discard pile. I don't know why it says this on here. Maybe it's later in the quest Ash, but for me personally, the Ash that I use is the best hero in the game. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in S tier. I think this is the best hero card, and I don't think it can be touched. Moving on, we have the Banana Guard. Every 2 turns, all of your creatures gain +3 defense. Now, every 2 turns, you have to remember, I think that is more useful than waiting 3 turns for +5 for one creature. This goes for all creatures, and I think that is pretty useful. I think it goes hand in hand, depending on the deck you're running. I personally, 2 turns, I'd rather have +2 attack. This is just preference, but personally, I would prefer Marceline here. Now we're getting a little deeper in here. Princess Cookie, all your swamp creatures gain +8 attack every 3 turns. If you're running a swamp deck, that is pretty good. So I'm gonna put it behind Dr. Donut, but it is still a really useful hero card if you're running a swamp deck. All right, now we got Magic Man. Every 1 turn, so 1 turn, send all of your opponent's buildings back to their hand. Depending on the opponent, this can be pretty useful. Will I find myself using it a lot? Not really. So I think B tier is fair for Magic Man. Now we have LSP. Every 2 turns, fully heal all of your plains creatures. Not as good as Rainicorns. I feel like all of these right here are more useful. So for that reason, I'm actually just going to put it here in C tier. I do not like that card. Now we have Lemon Grab. 1 turn, all creatures summoned this turn cost 1 less magic point. Now, that can be pretty helpful, but I feel like Brief Powers kind of overpower that. It can be useful. How useful really is it? I think it's more useful than Magic Man, but more useful than Princess Cookie, not really. Although I will say I think Lemon Grab is a decent card. Moving on, we have Ice King. 1 turn, all of your creatures gain +2 attack. That is better than this card 100%. And I think for waiting 1 turn, this is a pretty good card. Now I think it's better than Magic Man's and Lemon Grabs. I don't think it's better than Swamp creatures getting 8 attack, but I do think for waiting 1 turn, all creatures gain 2 attack. That's a pretty solid card, and I'm gonna give it B tier. I think that is a pretty good card. There are a lot of mid heroes in this game. So now Hudson Abadir, 2 turns, all your plains creatures get +8 attack. Like I said, I think it is worse than Princess Cookies, but this is still a pretty useful card. I'm gonna put it behind Cookies, but I'm still gonna say that's a pretty good card. Now we have Pajama Finn. All of your universal creatures gain +6 defense. Now, every 2 turns being able to give them 6 defense is pretty helpful. I'd say it deserves a B tier. I think that's fair. Now, we have Peppermint Butler. All universal creatures gain +5 attack. I think this goes hand in hand, but I think 6 defense is probably more useful than 5 attack. So I think having Peppermint Butler behind Pajama Finn is fair. Moving on, we have Dr. Finn. Every 2 turns, return any spell from the discard pile back into your hand. This can be pretty useful depending on the spell, because you can be getting a Brief Power back. You can be getting a Witch Way back. And those are 2 pretty useful cards, and I think if you're running a 1-turn combo deck, this can be a pretty good hero to have. So for that reason, I'm actually going to put him in A tier. Getting on into holiday cards, we have Ghost Jake. 3 turns, all your plains creatures gain +5 attack. That can be good, but once again, plains deck, not something I ever find myself running. It's gonna be down here. It's probably worse than LSP. I'm just gonna have it right here. Now, Christmas BMO. 5 turns, draw 3 cards. Drawing 3 cards can be useful, but for this to be useful, you have to have a big deck, and I never find myself running a super big deck, but it's still a pretty useful card if you get deeper on into a game. So I think top of C tier is more fair to this card. Moving on, Christmas Finn. Universal creatures gain +5 attack. I think this is the least useful one for these type of flip abilities, so I'm gonna actually have this in the bottom of C tier. I might push this to the top of D tier, because I really do not think that this is a useful ability. Now, Christmas Jake. 4 turns, any spell cast this turn costs 2 less magic points. How many spells are you really going to be using in that turn? So for that reason, I do think this is a bottom of C tier. Could be moved to top of D tier. I think this is more fair though, so this is where I'm going to have this. Now, Christmas Bubblegum. 5 turns, all of your creatures gain +4 attack. Now, I think it's useful than any of these right here. I think this is a little worse than that because it happens sooner and more frequently. I'm actually going to put this behind Ghost Jake. Moving on, we have Christmas LSP. 5 turns, gain 3 extra magic points for 1 turn. If you're playing deep on into a game, this is a pretty useful one, but that is 5 turns that you have to wait. So I think bottom of B tier is fair. I do think it's a useful hero card. I do not think that it is a great hero card. And for that, I think bottom of B tier is fair. Now we have Holiday Ice King, 3 turns, fully heal all of your swamp creatures. I mean, swamp creatures usually high in attack, low in defense. Not a super valuable card in my opinion. I'm going to put this in front of Christmas Jake, correct. I think that's fair. Typically, the holiday heroes aren't super strong, and I think that's showing right now. Now, moving on, Cinnamon Bun. I think I forgot to put him down, but 2 turns, all of your creatures gain +4 attack. That's pretty useful for 2 turns. I think that can be an A tier card, because 2 turns, you're getting +4 attack. Every 4 turns, you're getting 8 for all of your creatures, and I think that deserves a bottom of A tier. Maybe I'm pushing it a little bit, but I think that for Cinnamon Bun's fair. We do have Cake. 3 turns, gain 3 extra magic points for 1 turn. 3 turns, only waiting 3 turns for 3 magic points. That can be pretty useful. How great of a card is she? I'm not sure, but I think this is another bottom of A tier card, and I would say it's better than Cinnamon Bun. I don't think it's better than Dr. Finn, but still, pretty solid card. So for that, I think bottom A tier, pretty fair ranking. Now we're already at our last card. We have Fiona. Every 3 turns, all creatures summoned this turn cost 1 less magic point. Now creatures, that can be pretty useful, especially if you're 3 turns into a game, you're trying to get your more expensive creatures on the board, so this can be pretty useful. I think it is a top of B tier card. Don't think it's a great card, but it's definitely not a bad card. So for that, slide Fiona right on in here into the top of A tier. And that, my friends, is my Card Wars Heroes tier list. So yeah, I think I did pretty fair on the list. If you guys disagree with anything that I did on here, make sure to comment down below and tell me what I did wrong. And also make sure to comment down below who your favorite hero in this game is and who that you use if you still even do play this game. So yeah, I think we're done for today, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to go down and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I'm going to be doing more tier lists like this of games from my childhood. So yeah, enough said. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys. Bye.